Welcome to the show your parents, the PTA and the asleep don't want you to hear. The heliosblog. Today, we have Andrew Wilson versus Pixie, a womanist, and we have a crazy, heated debate. Let's go.
The reason she's alone is because she's difficult.
Women are not accepting the bare minimum.
Women fuck men they respect.
All the women who say things like, I'm strong, independent, I don't need no man, like, y'all impress me.
Women just gaslight each other and say what they want to hear.
So I'm an Eastern Orthodox Christian. But to give you an overview of what that means,
Interesting.
I'm going to kind of accommodate.
Usually Americans are not Eastern Orthodox. Perhaps he's actually Balkan. But interesting name, Andrew Wilson, and he's Eastern Orthodox.
Catholics, and then what I would consider most Protestants would consider to be a Christian. So from my worldview, knowledge is not possible without there being a God. It's not even possible. And here's what I mean by that. Without an unerring standard, or a standard which is unchanging, your ability to know something is going to be arbitrary. Any appeal that you make, any standard appeal that you make to anything ever is going to reduce to relativism, and it's going to reduce to being arbitrary, no matter what. So because that standard doesn't exist, I actually believe that there is truth which you can know, and knowledge which you can know, because I appeal to the standard which is unchanging. The reason we're Trinitarians, meaning we believe in the triune nature of God, is because first in John 1:1, the Word was with God, and God was the Word. Okay, what this is saying is, if you move forward to 1:14 in John, it says, "And the Word became flesh." So that would be Jesus Christ. So in the beginning, there's the Word. The Word was God. The Word was with God. And then in 1:14, the Word becomes flesh. So that means Jesus Christ is God, right? Part of the nature of God. John 14:6, Jesus Christ says, "I am the way, the truth, and the light." Okay, so the key word there for us is truth, right? The way, the truth, and the light. So in philosophy, a justified true belief is knowledge, right?
I mean, Aristotle is the one, or not, I can't remember who exactly. But then
knowledge is a justified true belief. So you can have a justified belief, but that doesn't mean it's true. So since we don't have a justified true belief, and we believe that the truth is God and must be God because that's the only inerrant, unchanging standard that there could ever be for truth, essentially I feel like most everything that anybody tells me who's not a Christian is a lie because it has no foundational grounding for it to be true.
That's very interesting. So he bases his whole worldview, his whole belief set on God being the truth. And not only is God the truth, but God is a standard that doesn't change, which allows you to compare. Interesting.
Moving towards some kind of standard which is completely arbitrary. So I think that your worldview in and of itself destroys.
I actually do agree that we are moving from truth towards a standard which is just arbitrary. Whatever the people in power say is true, like Animal Farm.
It's the ability, the very ability for you to even have knowledge. So that is my worldview and how I see things. Now, I'm not here to have a precept debate with you about Christianity, right? But I did want you to understand my viewpoint and how it is that I think about Christianity. And I think most Christians think of it this way.
Yeah.
Okay.
I feel bad because I know we're supposed to talk about feminism, but I want to ask you if you've ever heard of Gettier problems.
Yes.
Yeah,
but
what do you think about them?
The thing is that those can be reconciled through the Orthodox worldview as well. Okay, so you're talking in the Gettier problems of the laws of logic having problems, like you could be half in a room, half in a different room, stuff like this. But these are semantic issues, right?
No. All right, here, let me give you an example of a Gettier problem. So, for example, let's say you are driving by in your car, and then you pass, what is it? You pass a barn, and you say, there's a barn. It's justified, you saw it. It's a belief that you're holding, and it's true. Except in this case, in this scenario, that was actually a fake barn, and right behind it was a real barn. I know that sounds weird, but obviously it's just theoretical.
Sure.
Technically, your belief is still true, you said.
So it's an illusion magic spell cast by a wizard?
There's a barn over there. But can you really say that's knowledge? Did you truly know there was a barn there when what you were pointing to was, in fact, a fake barn?
But I mean, that would just move into precept. So whatever standard implied knowledge that you would have be relative anyway. So who cares if there's a barn behind it or not? Because it's going to be whatever you're going to appeal to know that there's a barn behind it. It's going to be an arbitrary standard, which can be reduced to relativism.
I mean, does it have to be arbitrary? I guess.
Yeah, you can never. I don't see how if you didn't have a standard which was unchanging, meaning could not be changed, how it wouldn't reduce to a relative standard.
Okay, I'm gonna put it this way.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say that there is a certain period in time where you had this village. And in this village, they decided that like when the water falls down and you're getting water, whatever, you should give it to the old people first because they need it more, it's more important that they get water first, whatever. Sorry. And let's say over time, everything gets better, like their water systems get better, blah, blah, blah. Things become more evolved, more advanced. And now that rule is arbitrary. Things changed, the circumstances changed, but it doesn't mean that rule is always arbitrary. What I'm trying to convey here is that...
No, okay. That rule would not have been arbitrary. So the meaning of arbitrary, meaning without system or something like this, but it would have been relative.
Yeah.
And that's the point. It would have been a relative rule. So it wouldn't have been anything that you were basing it on other than some metric you made up.
But even though it was a metric you made up, it was a metric that was tied down towards like our physical reality of how we interact with each other, how the environment is.
But could somebody have come in and said, don't give the water to the old people first? And they could have agreed to that, right?
They could have agreed to that, but that doesn't mean that they did what was in the best interest of the society.
But that means that the standard can be changed. So if the
I don't understand. This is arguing about nothing to me. I'm not hearing why these particular argumentation points are important. Sorry, I'm not getting it. Anyway, let's continue.
The standard can be changed. The standard is relative. For instance, the laws of logic can't be changed.
Okay.
So for instance, can you tell me how you would change the laws of logic without appealing to the laws of logic first?
No. I'll agree with you that the laws of logic can't be changed. But I think what I'm trying to disagree with you here on is just because something can be changed doesn't necessarily make it arbitrary.
No. Arbitrary in this case, if you're talking about the definition of has no system to it, I believe that you can come up with all sorts of systems and then it's no longer arbitrary, but it's still relative. It's still made up. And so what I'm saying is that the laws of logic are not relative. They're not made up. They exist as a metaphysical reality, and they must exist as a metaphysical reality because they can't be changed. And if you can change them, I would love to know how you could.
Can I ask you a question on, like, how do you define, and this sounds funny or weird, but how do you define, like, objectivity?
Well, it depends on what you mean by objectivity. So, like, an easy way might be correspondence theory of truth, that which corresponds with reality, you could say, is objective. There's many different theories of truth which are encompassed in Christianity, but I think correspondence theory would be fine for us to use as some definition for objective truth.
Yes. Okay.
So that means that biological reality is objectively true. You can't then say that it's not objectively true, which means that your womanist, wokist worldview that holds that if a person says they're a girl, well, actually, according to objective truth, they're not. They're just saying they are, but just because somebody says there's something doesn't mean that that's necessarily objectively true.
And just you believe in objective truth. You would have to because you believe in...
that objective standard. So if you believe in a subjective truth and everything is relative, then, like, for your moral standard, what do I even care about your moral standard for?
Yeah. Okay. So, because in my head... What, are you writing she's crazy? No. Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah, the light never goes into her eyes when she laughs, so I don't know what to say about that.
where was I?
We're talking about subjective.
Yes, subjective, objective, what that which relates to an outside reality. So I think, and we agree with this definition, just making it crystal clear.
Well, I'm not sure if we agree on it or not. I don't think we need to for the purpose of the debate. I'm just trying to express to you what my viewpoint is as we go into the debate on feminism.
Yeah.
And showing that I'm probably not going to agree with your principles of utilitarianism, nor you with my principles of Christianity. But that doesn't mean that if we both can look at like correspondence theory or something like that, that which corresponds with reality, that maybe we couldn't find some common ground here on feminism itself.
Yeah, I agree. I think just my main issue that I take is that when you are, because I also believe in objective morality, but I believe in it, I think, for a different reason that you do. And there's so many thoughts, but here, I'll start here. So basically, I think my problem with your worldview, or with how you're starting it out, is that you're saying, oh no, like there has to be an unchanging God, because then anything else is relative and therefore like subjective. Correct me if I'm wrong.
No. No. What I'm saying to you is that knowledge itself is not possible. If knowledge itself, the thing that you appeal to, has an arbitrary metric, knowledge becomes impossible. You can't know anything if you say there's no standard which is unchanging for which we can know a thing by. Therefore, no belief you have can be true, because knowledge itself is a justified true belief.
Wait. But didn't he say that the laws of logic also can't be changed? So couldn't that be a what's it called? A backbone for your beliefs? Again, guys, I'm not a debater, so I don't really know, or a philosopher. I don't really know how how you're supposed to argue these things. I'm just putting in my 22 cents. You guys let me know in the comments if I'm off base here, or you can explain why I'm off base so I can understand how you're actually supposed to phrase these things. I'm learning like you as we go.
So by having a subjective worldview, from my worldview, you have destroyed the very capacity to even have knowledge.
Yeah, and I think where the major disagreement comes from is that things can be changing, but you can still know of something despite the changes.
How do you know if you can't appeal to a standard from which, if you always appeal to it, is unchanging? How could you ever know that?
Yeah, how do you know? Okay, maybe you can help me answer.
So,
this.
this beer, right? Can that be water?
No.
How do you know?
Because I see that it is beer, and I know that unless if you decide to do a bunch of like chemical processes, essentially, it's not gonna.
So you're appealing to some unerrant standard, some unchanging standard, which would say that this always must be itself, like the laws of logic would say. This beer can only be what it is, which is beer, right?
Yeah, I'm basically appealing to. This is where we're gonna start disagreeing probably. My experiences, essentially, and some laws of logic within like those.
Okay, but your subjective experience of reality is not necessarily reality, which is where a lot of womaness and women in general go wrong. They have a solipsistic view of reality.
Experiences that I've had, right?
Yeah, but your experiences are going to have to still be limited to the confines of knowledge, which is still going to be confined to the laws of logic.
Yeah, but those confines are within my reality, if that makes sense. So, okay, I'm gonna.
Yeah, well, hang on. That's true.
What if you're schizophrenic?
Yes.
Yeah, you yourself, I think, can have subjective experiences. Sure.
Yes.
I think that you can have many subjective experiences, but that really doesn't have anything to do with whether or not they're true. Indeed. Or whether or not you have the capacity to know things. If you think that knowledge itself has no standard for objectivity, how the hell can you say I know anything if that is the case?
Well, yeah, that's what I was gonna get to. Basically, for you to state that there is an outside, like external, like unchanging force, you would have to essentially prove that to me.
Why?
Because otherwise.
Okay, so here's the thing. I will give you philosophical proof that there is an unchanging source from which we can always appeal to for knowledge called the laws of logic. Now, if that is not true, can you explain to me how these can be changed? If they are subjective, they should be changeable. Can you change the laws of logic, or can you not?
No, I'm saying those laws of logic can 100% not be changed in your
No, in
reality.
your reality.
In all
The
reality.
problem is,
In all reality, not just in his reality. She's not agreeing that we can have a consistent reality, which is bullshit. Yeah.
In any reality.
you would have to prove to me a reality exists outside of your perspective, which you inherently cannot do because you are quite literally processing everything through your perspective. Like, it would be an impossible task for me to prove.
To prove that reality exists outside of your perspective? No, you can prove that. What? Like, I don't understand. Or are you saying that the only thing that exists is what you hear exists? I vehemently disagree with that. It's that expression which I'm sure you've heard. If a tree falls in the forest, but no one's around to hear it, does it make a sound? So what she's saying is, unless you yourself hear it make a sound, sounds don't exist. But how about, like, a person films a movie about Alaska. You've never been to Alaska. You've never seen it. You've never heard about it. You see this movie about Alaska. Did Alaska exist before you saw the movie? It did, right? But she's saying unless you yourself experience it, it doesn't exist? That's a very solipsistic view, which I disagree with.
For that.
In any reality, do you think that a thing cannot be what a thing is?
Essentially, even if those rules are true, they're so confined to my reality. Does that make sense?
Even if they're confined to your reality, all I need you to do is envision a reality in which a thing isn't what it is.
Which I can't. But that doesn't mean it doesn't exist outside of the confines.
So in all possible realities that you can possibly come up with, it's not good enough philosophical proof for you that you can't think of a single one in which the laws of logic would not apply?
Andrew, what I'm trying to convey here, you see this box?
Yep.
Okay, let's for the audience. You are in this box.
Okay.
And you're basically saying, oh, nothing outside this box can exist because I cannot perceive of anything outside this box. But just because you cannot perceive of anything outside this box doesn't mean that there's nothing outside the box. You are confined to the box through your experiences.
This is just an argument from incredulity, ultimately.
Yeah, I don't understand. Like, just because you can't envision it, it's like saying the ancients couldn't envision neutrons, so neutrons don't exist. Well, that's bullshit.
What you're saying is it's possible that there are things which exist outside of anything you could ever envision, and so therefore this thing may not be true. That's just incredulity.
Yeah, no.
That's just incredulity. It's a fallacious argument. What I need you to do is tell me, based on any experience, subjective or otherwise. I need you to explain to me why. I just did. I gave you the.
No, you didn't. You said it's fallacious, but you did not explain to me why it's fallacious.
The argument from incredulity is a fallacious argument.
You have to explain to me why you believe it's fallacious. You can't just say it's fallacious.
Okay. It's a logical fallacy. She doesn't know about logical fallacies and she's a debater?
Okay, because I could be incredulous about any argument you make, right? You could say, for instance, I'm not here right now, right? And I go, well, I don't believe that. Well, that's not an argument. That's not an actual argument.
That's not my argument is essentially...
Yeah, hang on. Do you agree with me that that would be fallacious argumentation?
I would agree with you, but that's not what I'm saying.
It is what you're saying. You're saying because I can't envision something outside of anything which can even be envisioned, where the laws of logic may not be true. You're just saying conceptually there could be, but when I ask you to demonstrate a reality in which it could even be true, you still can't even do that.
No, because what I'm trying to say is that inherently every law of logic, every experience you have, everything you ever do must go through your own perception first.
Okay, but you would agree with me, even if that's true, okay? You think that other...
Yeah, does that mean that other people don't exist or other people can't learn? I don't understand. Just because things have to go through your perspective, like... There are fields of science that I've never even heard of, but does that mean that they don't exist because I've never heard of them? Like, it's an insane argument, right?
Other people have perceptions, right?
Yes, but I can never prove it fully.
From your perception, you think, but you do think that.
I can think that, but I'll never be able to prove it fully.
But you don't really need to. You don't really need to prove it fully. We can just go off of your perceptions then. if you can't prove anybody else has them and only you have them, inside of anything in which you can envision, you, from your subjective metric, the only one which exists or is necessary, can a world exist where the laws of logic do not apply?
No, but here's the deal, right?
That's powerful philosophical proof, by the way.
But okay,
of an unchanging standard which can be adhered to for knowledge.
Here's the deal, right?
Mm-hmm.
If we can agree that even though I do not know, or I cannot prove something outside of my own perception, that's an impossible task to do, it is still real to me, right? It is still something that is, actively affecting my life. I cannot just pretend it doesn't.
By the way, all I'm hearing is she's arguing from a solipsistic perspective. Let me know in the comments. By the way, if you don't know what solipsism is, it means women have a lot of trouble perceiving realities that aren't their specific subjective reality. Notice even here in an intellectual debate, she has trouble arguing, even if she's hyper intellectual or whatever you want to call it, which I actually don't think so. I just think she knows the words to sound hyper intellectual. She doesn't actually sound that smart to me. I don't think she's actually that smart. She just knows how to make other people think that she's smart that don't know what she's talking about. I hope I explained that correctly. Anyway, and even her is still solipsistic, which is she can't even acknowledge that other people have perceptions. Only her own perceptions can determine reality. Does that sound insane to anybody else, or is that just me?
It doesn't make it any less real. Does that make sense? Did I explain myself clearly?
You can say that, but I'm just going to grant it. I'm just going to grant that it's all real to you.
Okay.
So even granting that it's all real to you, right? From what is real from your perspective, can you change the laws of logic?
No, we've already gone through
just
that.
answer the question.
No, I did. I answered it 3 times.
So if the answer is yes, then that's the only standard you can appeal to for objective knowledge, right?
What, the laws of logic?
Yeah. What other objective standard can you think of which is unchanging?
Well, that's the point that I'm trying to get across, is that even if there is a reality outside of my current experience, which I do not know if that's the case, whatever,
mm-hmm.
There are still these basic components of our experiences. And yeah, the laws of logic, in a sense, are an experience. Right? Thinking 1 + 1 = 2 is something that you are actively experiencing, going through, thinking about, putting together.
No, I disagree. I believe that these are discovered. They're not subjective metrics of the human mind, but rather discoveries, which you find because they're true,
so
external
now
to mind.
You're presupposing an external world, which brings us back to our original problem.
Hang on. I'm not presupposing an external world. What I'm saying to you is, from your subjective metric right now, which is what you consider to be everything in reality which exists and that you could ever perceive of, from that metric, do you agree that when you pass away, the laws of logic will still be here, even if you can't perceive them?
Yeah, no, that's presupposing that there is a existence outside or
That's
after
right.
myself.
Everything is a presupposition which reduces itself to an unerring standard, which has always been there and always will be there and always must have been there to assume creation or any justification for knowledge.
I don't think, what is it? I'm trying to think how to phrase this. You are basing your worldview off a presupposition that there is an external world, which I don't even 100% disagree with. What I'm trying to convey here is that it is
No. You're presupposing that you can have this conversation right now. You're presupposing that you have knowledge right now. You presuppose everything leading to this conversation, and everything you presuppose leading up to it has a requirement for knowledge, which you presuppose baked into the laws of logic, but won't grant that there has to be has to be an unerring standard. What else would you call that but God?
Oh, okay. Is it? I mean, we could get into a theological debate about God if you want to.
I would like to move it to feminism, right? If I have substantially answered your questions so that you understand where I'm coming from my worldview.
Yes.
Okay.
I guess I'm just a little bit uncertain when it comes to.
Well, I mean, if that's the case, then I would have to cross-examine what you gave us for utilitarianism, which wasn't much.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
We could dive into that.
Sure.
But I would like to dive into the purpose of the debate now that you know my worldview.
Okay,
the worldview itself wasn't to be the debate, though I'm happy to do one in the future with you on this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only reason, but if anything, we'll just circle back.
Yeah, we can.
Yeah, okay, because what my concern is that once we start talking about like feminism or worldview, I'm concerned that you're going to bring it back to God, which is...
I make secular arguments.
Okay, cool, awesome.
Yeah.
Great. We're good then.
Mm-hmm. Before we do that, I'll just allow TTS to come.
Ulysses the Pagan donated $100. I give Pixie prompts coming prepared and taking notes like Andrew. I don't agree with her worldview, but I appreciate her taking the debate seriously and wanting to engage.
Well, Pixie... I ran into her on quite a few panels in the Twitch poll universe, so I was happy that she was coming in to debate.
Aww, thank you. I'm happy I'm debating you right now. We're talking,
well, let's
really.
get into the debate. So let's...
Perhaps actually one question before we do that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'll do a part 2 because they didn't really get into the debate, but again, this was an instructive video because you got to see that even the most intellectual debate, maybe autist type, is still solipsist. Alright, let's end the video there. Hit the like, hit the sub, hit all the notifications. Buy my books like Hunter M, Adrian R, Tom M, Bobby, Dylan, Renaissance Press, Brian, Andrew, Alan, Armani, and Nicholas. Shout outs to you, most recent purchaser of both my books, Strategist Guide to Seduction and Quotes to Live By. If you'd like coaching services, message me at theheliosblog at gmail.com. That's my email. I'll slot you right in. And I do offer early access content on my Patreon. Thank you so much for listening, guys, especially if you listen to the end. I really do appreciate it. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you next time.